Greetings everyone, my name is Jiangnan. Today, with my colleague Yuan Song, we are presenting a literature review for a publication under the title Robust Epitaxial Growth of Two-Dimensional Heterostructures, Multiheterostructure, and Superlattices. This is published on Science in 2017, authored by Dr. Zhang, Dr. Chen, Dr. Duan, and a few other colleagues. The paper basically reports on innovative and practical synthetic strategies for growing sophisticated heterostructures from 2D TMD materials. So for this presentation, we will discuss what are the significance of the 2D TMD heterostructure material, why it is so difficult to achieve it experimentally, what are some of the strategies that we can adopt to overcome the challenges, and eventually what are the mechanisms behind those strategies. 2D TMDs refers to the two-dimensional transition metal dichalcogenides, which is a monoatomic layer material. In the recent years, it has drawn significant research interest from academia due to its unique properties and promising potential applications. 2D TMD's bandgap is tunable by changing the composition, which makes it a perfect candidate for optoelectronic devices like solar cells, phototransistors, and etc. In addition, 2D TMDs has high on and off ratio, which provides an ultra-sensitive response to gate voltage change, which makes it a good candidate for biosensors, gas sensor as well. This is only a part of the table listing out the recent research endeavors to explore the 2D heterostructures and their promising potential in semiconductor applications. The 2D TMD heterostructures, multiheterostructures, and superlattices are beyond doubt a huge step forward in semiconductor industry if it can be fabricated with precision and controllability. However, the lateral growth of 2D TMD heterostructures are found to be very challenging. And one of the difficulties is thermal degradation. The monolayer 2D crystals are usually too delicate to survive multiple sequential growth steps necessary for the formation of 2D heterostructures or superlattices. With just a single or few atomic layer, the 2D crystal essentially have very little tolerance for any thermal-induced degradation and are more challenging to grow than the bulk or nanoscale heterostructures with more atomic layers. As we can see in the optical microscopy image, the resulting heterostructures is apparently flawed when exposed to high temperature without proper protection. The thermal degradation is evident by the crack and voids in the microscopy image. Undesired nucleation is another major obstacle faced by the researchers. In the CVD method, the temperature is one of the most important parameters in controlling the monolayer growth. The crystal will grow to a certain structures at a very specific temperature. Yet the temperature change in the furnace is a gradual process, and the nucleation that happens during the heating will yield something different and unwanted. And this is exactly what we are seeing in figure 3, where those nucleated at lower temperatures yield something extremely flawed. I will give it to Yuan Song for some of the strategies that we can adopt to overcome the challenges we just discussed.
In this part, I will give you a brief summary about the development of synthetic strategies for layered transition metal dichalcogenide and three representative technique examples: vertical growth, epitaxial growth, and epitaxial growth to build multi-heterojunction were chosen and compared based on the chronological order of technological development. For vertical growth, as the figure shows, the molybdenum disulfide and the tungsten diselenide monolayer was first fabricated by vaporizing raw material in the furnace. Then the monobdenum disulfide was first coated by a layer of PMMA and mechanically deposited onto tungsten diselenide nanoflakes while removing the PMMA. After that, the as-prepared sample was annealed on an argon environment at 300 degrees centigrade for 4 hours. For epitaxial growth, however, the fabrication process was more complicated. Professor Duan designed a thermochemical vapor deposition process in which the tungsten disulfide domain was first formed by the thermal evaporation of the solid tungsten disulfide sources on the argon atmosphere in a 1-inch tube furnace. Then the dangling bonds of peripheral triangle area were used as the active growth front for continuing addition of precursor atoms for the lateral growth of 2D TMDS structure. Even though, as we mentioned, the fabrication process of vertical growth was more easier, the lateral growth strategies was more promising, as it is easier for edge contacts to proceed bands offset tunneling caused by more separated spatial distribution. However, the formation of multiheterostructure was not achieved until Professor Duan proposed a modified step-by-step CVD strategies, and this is also the paper we reviewed, where they applied a forward flow and a reverse flow during step growth process, and the high temperature degradation and uncontrollable homogeneous nucleation were fingered out respectively. More specifically, the forward flow from chemical vapor source to substrate was only activated at a specific growth temperature. A reverse flow from substrate to vapor source was applied to avoid thermal degradation or uncontrollable nucleation through continuous flush of cold argon gas across monolayer to reduce the exposure at high temperature swing and uncontrollable homogeneous nucleation. More detailed mechanism will explain in the following part. Therefore, these strategies ensure the robust epitaxial growth and can repeat it for multiple times to synthesize multi-heterojunction, and the weight of each block can be controlled by adjusting the time and temperature. So these strategies will show promising prospect for the future application.
Thank you, Yuan. But the next question is, why and how does the two-flow modified CVD design overcome the set challenges? First, it protects the delicate monolayer structures from the temperature swing. The reverse flow from the substrate to the powder is activated during the temperature ramping. The cold argon gas flows directly to the substrate first, which creates an efficient cooling process compared to the traditional method. As a result, the thermal degradation is minimized and the epitaxial growth of the two-dimensional heterostructures is meeting our expectation. In addition, it minimizes the undesired nucleation. The key is to switch off the process when the temperature has not hit the target. In another word, we don't want any nucleation to happen when we are heating or cooling the furnace. The reverse flow of argon gas functions like a switch-off button. When the temperature has not hit our target, the argon gas is blowing from right to left, blowing away all the sublimated source material and protect the result heterostructures from any nucleation. When we have reached our desired temperatures, the argon is blowing from left to right when the source material is free to nucleate at the substrate. The design guarantees that almost all nucleation happens at the right temperatures, which leads to a perfect heterostructures, multiheterostructures, and superlattices with clear interface and correct structures. That's all for our presentation. Thank you all for your time.